Right now, let us bring in Mike Cozzi, Check on Sports. Mike, good morning.
Good morning.
So, the Yankees may have a lot of injuries. They may have their mini Yankee team in there, but thank goodness they've run into a couple of teams playing poorly where they actually can get some wins under their belt.
You said the absolute truth.
Yeah.
They're playing teams that are not playing well, and their young guys are playing well, and they're getting wins, which is all you have to do.
And, you don't know how long it's going to go on for because, you're a baseball player, so you know, Mike, but the law of averages. It's like when you're playing golf. You can be a terrible golfer and have 9 great holes, and then the next 9 holes just go, right down the drain. But they're doing what they have to do right now. They're doing more than treading water. They're a couple of games 500, so it's interesting to see what when people start coming back, what happens. But anyway,
that's a good thing about young players. They don't know how good they can be, so they just keep playing. And when they hit a road bump, they just keep coming back. And the worst thing to do is to pull them or switch them. Just let them play it out. Give them a chance to rebound if they go down. But the big thing for the Yankees is, which they're going to do, is when these other guys come back and your young guys are producing, do you make the change? Because you're winning with these guys. Well, because of the money they make, that makes your decision for you. But in most sports, when you have somebody in there that's playing and you're winning, you ride them till you're not winning. But that won't happen here, unfortunately. But the young guys are producing big time, and they deserve the opportunity to keep going as long as they're producing.
And remember how the young guys that are currently the stars of the Yankees team
got started
the exact same way. Exact same way. Injuries brought all these young players into the lineup, so it's interesting to see how it plays out. But
like if and when the outfielders come back, how do you sit Frazier?
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's hot. He's hot.
You got to ride him. Yeah. But money dictates a lot of things.
All right, where do you want to go in baseball?
We'll stay there. The Mets beat the Phillies last night in a weird game, 5-1. Bryce Harper got thrown out in the dugout for yelling at the umpire about balls and strikes. You can argue this point from either way. The umpire was real inconsistent, and Harper let him know about it. And the umpire obviously had rabbit ears to throw him out from the dugout, maybe had it in for him. Or you can look at it the other way, that Harper's right, the umpiring's terrible, and you got to let him know about it. I'm kind of like mixed both ways. The umpire had rabbit ears, and he was bad. So I don't know if that's the reason why the Mets won the game last night. They got a rarity last night. Matz pitched well for them. That's the reason why they won the game. But the umpiring in the major leagues is mediocre at best, and that's not only about last night's game. It's in a lot of games. So the Mets came away with the win last night. The Yankees won in 14, and it was a good night for New York baseball teams.
And you and I have said it all along about umpiring. You can be a bad umpire. You just have to be a consistent umpire.
Yeah, you just got to know. Like I tell my kids, this guy's calling this or this guy's calling that. I said, you can't complain about it because he's doing it all the time. Yeah. As long as, like you said, if they're consistent and you know what they're not calling and what they're calling, you can live with it. It's when they're pulling the black marble out of the bag every once in a while and you don't know where it's coming from.
All right. So where else do we want to go in sports here?
Hockey. One round got wrapped up last night. Dallas beat Nashville 2-1 in overtime, so Dallas wins that series 4-1. Carolina beat up on Washington last night 5-2, which sends that to a Game 7. So we have 3 Game 7s coming up in 2 days. You got 2 tonight, Toronto against Boston at Boston, Vegas against San Jose at San Jose, and then tomorrow night a Game 7 with Carolina and Washington. So pretty good stuff.
All right. How about in the National Hockey League? The Caps lost, and Ovechkin's goal was waved off.
The technology in hockey, it's something you got to get used to. If it was waved off, which I didn't see it, I'm sure that it was disallowed for a good reason, because I saw an Islander goal in the first game against Pittsburgh early in the game. It was game one, early in the series, which dictates a lot of stuff, get waved off. But they fine-tuned it where that the Islander player wasn't out of the zone, and you can see it, and it was justified. So I'm pretty sure that the goal was disallowed. Was a real goal that should have been disallowed, and they lost 5-2. So Ovechkin's goal wouldn't have made a difference in the outcome. But in one sport, which is hockey, which is very fast, the replays usually are pretty correct, pretty right on the ball.
Yeah, he scored that goal to tie the game 3-3, but it was waved off. So there you go. And there's a video of up on it, and it does look like when you take a look at the video that they made the correct call.
Yeah, very few hockey ones where they're disallowing goals or allowing goals. Very few of them have been wrong. I mean, the NFL should take a page out of their book because the NFL's wrong 50% of the time, even with the review. They make things up as they go along. But the rules of hockey are pretty cut and dry, and they abide by them, and they look for what they need to on the replay, and for the most part, they nail it every time.
All right, anything else we want to talk about in sports?
Not a lot.
I know. It's right there. It's right there in front of us. Well, we'll see what happens. It's so funny. The Yankees started the game at 10 o'clock at night.
And, it was over 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and, of course, before they went to that game, they had an extra inning game, and then they had to catch the trip to the coast. So, and I think
that's the beauty of baseball.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and so it's tough to watch those games out on the coast. It just is darn near impossible. Darn near impossible.
Well, let's talk about the sense of entitlement. They're entitled to their evening starts just like we are. You can't start a game in California at 4 o'clock just because New York wants to watch it.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, 10 o'clock start out there is a 7 o'clock start out there. So
that's it. So you really can't argue that fact, and it's been going on forever. And
all
many
teams...
a game when I was a kid, I watched the first 2 innings and didn't know who won till I picked up the newspaper the next day. Yeah. At least you don't have to pick up the newspaper nowadays. You can just look at your phone.
And everybody's got to deal with it.
Yeah, it's the way it is. Yeah. I mean, when people start complaining that the game's too late in California, you know we've reached the cuckoo's nest.
All right. I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Have a great day, guys.
Take care, Mike. Mike Cozzi with the Check on Sports this morning here on the Breakfast Club on Robin Hood Radio.